Hello, today I'm wearing my tie-dyed Key West shirt because it's a little bloopy outside today. If you've never been to Key West, I recommend that you get a frozen key lime pie dipped in chocolate on a stick. They take a slice of key lime pie, insert a popsicle stick, and then they freeze it. They dip it in either milk or dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is my favorite. And then they refreeze it. It is a treat, and I really recommend you get one if you ever go to Key West. Today we're reading from Hot Flash Divas again. And this time we're on chapter 21 titled Wiggly-Wobbly. I filled my pages in my journal, scribbling my wrath about Todd's financial stupidity onto the clean white pages. It felt good to write out my emotions. I imagined the pen drained them from my body and inked them on the paper that absorbed them for safekeeping. Todd called later that morning to report that Joyce had agreed to co-sign the loan with him. "How did you manage that, Todd?" I tapped my pen on the table, feeling my initial relief morph into anger. I had to confess about the credit cards and allow her to help me set up a budget. I'd taken care of all the bills during our marriage because Todd didn't seem to understand money management. Later that day, Joyce phoned me. "If I could put that boy over my knee and spank him, I would. Then I'd ground him for a year. I can't believe he did such a stupid thing." I thought, you haven't heard the half of it. "Well, he did. Sorry you got caught in the middle of this," she sighed. "It's part and parcel of being a mom. Gotta go." Todd shook his head every time he heard the latest updates about my new house. My plan, since the divorce wasn't final, was to do some painting and cleaning before I moved. My threats to phone the police and do an expose to Joyce doused Todd's temper tantrums. After the credit card fiasco, the last thing he wanted was for his mom to find out about the affairs. There hadn't been another tense moment since the coffee cup throwing incident. Despite this, I didn't lower my guard. The dent in the wall served as a healthy reminder. The previous homeowner of my new house-to-be had moved to Tennessee, so he gave me a key and told me it was all right to clean and paint. Every weekend, I spent my time feathering my new nest. I dragged our carpet cleaner over and shampooed all the carpets. The wall where the television and bookcase would reside was painted a dark burgundy and didn't go well with my furnishing. The overpriced house, similar to the one I purchased, had a sponged wall that looked like terracotta marble, which would coordinate nicely with my furnishings. I decided to copy that wall. I had the equipment and expertise to achieve the desired effect. The tool had two small pattern rollers on each side of a handle. The technique was simple. Pour two different colored paints in the special divided pan, load the rollers, and make V patterns on the wall to mingle the paints. The drawback was that the corners and edges had to be sponged in with care. The largest obstacle was that the wall was 16 feet wide and 22 feet tall at the apex. This project would require a ladder. "Todd, I need a favor." I hoped he would do anything I asked at this point to keep me from tattling to Joyce. He stiffened as he reached for the cup of coffee he had just poured. "Maybe. What do you need?" "I need a ladder that will reach the apex of a tall wall." He cocked his head. "How tall?" 20 feet. "That would take the extension ladder." His mouth turned down. My shoulders drooped. I hated the extension ladder. It had to lean against the wall and always felt unstable. "Can you take it to my house Saturday morning?" He stood straighter. He hadn't seen my house yet and had asked questions about it. "Sure, I'll carry it in my truck. What are you painting? I need a tall stand-up ladder too. I'm doing clouds on the ceiling in my bedroom and I need to repaint one wall in the living room. Tall nodded. I can arrange that. He picked up his coffee and headed for his recliner. Scene break. Saturday, I had the entire floor of my master bedroom covered with clear plastic that crinkled with every step. The roller pan was full of paint tinted robin's egg blue. I rolled the smooth ceiling inside the tray and turned it into a sky. I smiled, pleased at the shade and that the ceiling wouldn't need a second coat of paint. My plan was to let the ceiling dry while I painted the living room wall. I would come back when it was dry to sponge on the clouds. Half of the living room was covered in plastic. The dreaded extension ladder sat propped against the wall under the apex. I eyed it and shuddered. Unlike the stepladder, this ladder had no shelf to place items like paint trays. This task would be a battle, woman versus ladder. Sponging the edge next to the ceiling was the logical first step. Wearing my yellow rubber gloves, I dabbed a sea sponge into the terracotta paint. I slowly climbed the demon ladder. It wiggled from left to right. As I took each step, I stopped to let the ladder settle before venturing to the next step. With my arm fully extended, I was able to reach the peak. I could have moved up one more step, but the idea made my stomach do somersaults. I'm not scared of heights. I'm afraid of falling off of wobbly ladders. After I sponged in the area, I shimmied my way down and loaded the sponge with warm beige paint to blend into the mix. The burgundy base combined with the terracotta and beige to create the perfect marbled effect. The etching process was tooth grinding slow. By the time I finished my hand sponging the edges, my right shoulder was cramping and my stomach was growling. Fried chicken, that's what I need. Spicy fried chicken. I knew just the place. I pulled off my gloves and checked the bottom of my shoes for paint. 15 minutes later, I was back, sitting in a webbed lawn chair and bent over a dilapidated TV tray, stuffing my face with chicken and slurping a chocolate shake. Comfort food, a Hot Flash Diva's best and worst enemy. Fortified, I was ready to conquer that evil ladder. After what felt like 15,000 trips up and down later, I had completed the large wall. I stood back to admire my work and was feeling flushed with success when I saw one spot that needed a tad of blending. I wanted to ignore it, but I knew my eye would wander to that spot every time I entered the room. Of course, it was near the summit of the wall. I quivered my way up the ladder, my legs feeling like silly string, and sponged the area. 2 steps from the bottom, the fiendish ladder shifted. I stepped off in a panic, right into the paint tray. Crap! I counted my blessings that the pan was almost empty, and it was latex paint. With one foot anchored in the paint pan, I circled with my free foot until I could reach the paper towels. I felt like the hands on a clock. 20 minutes and several descriptive phrases later, I managed to wash and towel the latex paint off the bottom of my shoe. My malignant thoughts metastasized toward Todd and his hellish ladder. It was his midlife crisis that had caused all these problems. If he could hear my heated thoughts, his ears would burn to a crisp. At 11 that night, I finished the clouds on my bedroom ceiling. They looked fantastic. Exhausted, with my calves hardened like concrete blocks, I drove home to Decatur. I trudged into the house around midnight. I wanted to crawl straight into bed, but I knew I needed to shower first. Todd was in his recliner, as usual, watching a movie. "You're late," he eyed me from top to paint-speckled bottom. It takes a lot of time to walk up and down an unsteady ladder 20 million times. He nodded and his lips thinned. "I thought about that ladder. When you weren't home by 10, I wondered if maybe you fell and knocked yourself out or broke something." I held up my phone. In my most sarcastic tone, I said, "It was considerate of you to call and check on me to make sure I wasn't hurt." I hobbled toward the bathroom. Todd's actions, or rather lack of action, spoke volumes. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, make comments, and hopefully I'll see you for the next reading. Stay safe, stay well, and have a wonderful day.